The New York Jets recently have been the laughingstock of the NFL. They only have had one winning record and haven't made the playoffs over the last 15 years. But that is all about to change as the Jets brought in Aaron Glenn on a 5-year deal to be the head coach. And I'm telling you, this team is dangerous. You definitely don't want to play them on Sunday, and you really don't want to let them sneak into the playoffs. First, let's recap the Jets offseason. They made a ton of good moves. Again, signed Aaron Glenn to a 5-year deal, who I think is the perfect head coach. I'm a Lions fan, thought he was great in Detroit, and it's not just me. Just 2 years ago, he was voted best defensive coordinator by the players. He's great at connecting with the guys that he's coaching. And AG is really smart. I'd recommend you go watch one of his press conferences, obviously, after you watch this video. But when he speaks, it really shows that he's been working in the NFL for 3 decades now. And the Jets hold a special place in Aaron Glenn's heart. He was drafted by the Jets. In his first NFL job, he scouted for the Jets. So what changes are Aaron Glenn bringing to New York? First is the culture. He is extremely respected by players and coaching staffs, not just in New York, but around the league. And just from watching from afar, I can already see a huge culture shift on display. Another large change is going to be with the Jets defense, replacing Robert Saleh's heavy zone coverage. And Glenn is replacing it with his extremely aggressive scheme that runs a ton of man coverage. Last year, the Lions defense under him led the league in man coverage. He's going to have New York's defense play extremely physical. The DBs are going to be very handsy. He wants them to be sticky and all over the wideouts. Other big changes, Aaron Glenn brought in new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks and new offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand. And regarding culture, Glenn said you don't build it by firing up your team with speeches. You build culture by having the right people in the building, and that's what he's done with his coaching staff. Moving on to some of the big moves the Jets made during the offseason to load up for the 2025 season. The biggest one, signing Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract. I love this move. Justin Fields is an incredible athlete, extremely fast, mobile, and has a great arm on him. I think Justin Fields doesn't get the respect he deserves because he really hasn't found his home yet. And so much of the NFL for quarterbacks is where you get drafted, and he lost the lottery extremely bad. The second biggest free agent move the Jets made, Aaron Glenn brought in Brandon Stephens from Baltimore. This is going to be his 5th year in the NFL, starting out a 3-year, $36 million deal. Stephens has a lot of great experience, only missed 1 game last season, and played in 4 playoff games over the last 2 years. Another great addition for the Jets secondary, they brought in safety Andre Sisco from Jacksonville on a 1-year, $10 million prove-it deal. Over the last 3 seasons, he had 22 pass deflections, 8 interceptions, and started nearly every game. Then offensively, the Jets signed center Josh Myers from Green Bay, who started every single game for the Packers over the last 3 seasons. He'll be the new starting center as Joe Tippmann moves to right guard. In New York, also signed wide receivers Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson. And then, of course, the last 2 big moves that the Jets made during the offseason, they extended Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, both to huge 4-year contracts. So after hiring new coaching staff, all the offseason moves, practices, and training camp, the Jets had their Week 1 game against the Steelers, and Aaron Glenn's team's performance tremendously succeeded my expectations, blew him out of the water. Let's start off with the quarterback. Justin Fields was phenomenal. 16 of 22, 218 yards, a touchdown, 12 rushing attempts for 48 yards, and 2 more tutties. The first thing that jumped out at me was Fields' presence in the pocket. His footwork was great, and he did an excellent job at feeling the pressure. When the pocket started closing in, he didn't instantly start scrambling. He stayed calm, relaxed, stepped up in the pocket, and delivered hard passes through tight windows. And he did this to Josh Reynolds, Mason Taylor multiple times throughout the game. And a reminder, Justin Fields was going up against Mike Tomlin's Steelers defense, the highest paid defense in the NFL. And regarding scrambling, he only did it when he needed to. And that's why I think Justin is so good, is because he's an escape artist. He's the closest quarterback to Lamar in the league. He's so athletic. So if Aaron Glenn can continue to unlock Fields' full potential, it unlocks so many things for their offense, and there's so much the defense has to worry about. And not only did Fields scramble efficiently, he made some great throws on the run. Moving to the Jets offensive line, right tackle, first-round draft pick by the Jets last year, Armand Membo made his first NFL start, and he allowed just 1 pressure. Just 1. Then next to him, Joe Tippmann, right guard, continued to play excellent. And the other 3 O-linemen, Myers at center, Simpson, and Fashanu on the left, didn't play as well, had a total of 14 pressures allowed together. But nonetheless, that's an excellent start to this season. Teams are only going to get better as the year progresses, and teams are always different beasts after Thanksgiving. And thanks to that offensive line, Breece Hall had himself a day. 145 scrimmage yards, over 100 on the ground, averaging more than 5 a pop. He's strong, fast, great in space, and very good after contact. And with Breece Hall being such a strong runner and Justin Fields being so athletic, the read option is so deadly to defenses. Engstrand called a great game for the offense, and that is just the ultimate wild card that teams are going to have to prepare for every single week when they play the Jets. And the last thing I want to mention about the offense, Garrett Wilson, phenomenal. 7 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. He's back with Fields, their connection is great, and he was targeted on 9 of his 23 routes ran. And that brings up one of my small concerns. We'll see how it pans out throughout the season, but I could see wide receiver depth being an issue for the Jets. But I just can't stop raving about Justin Fields. They go down 31-26 on the kickoff fumble. Fields comes in, drives his team down the field, and takes back the lead. And then on the last possession, the Steelers brought the house every single play. He had 2 great passes, but both were forced incompletions or forced drops due to Jalen Ramsey. Starting out with the defense and going to the D-line, the pass rush was great. Will McDonald took down Rodgers twice, and that line got tons of pressure just rushing 4. And I think Steve Wilkes did a pretty good job at finding opportune times to blitz. And Quinnen Williams did a phenomenal job at getting pressure on the inside. He had a sack of his own, and what Aaron Glenn wants to do is he wants to make offenses one-dimensional. And that's what the Jets did against the Steelers on Sunday. The Steelers' run game, pretty much non-existent. 20 rushes for only 53 yards. Moving to the Jets secondary, they did pretty good, but there's definitely some room to work. But again, tons of potential. One good thing was any RPO or quick screen was instantly met with a tackle, besides one where I believe Carter missed a tackle and DK had a long gain, which Aaron Glenn was very upset on. Brandon Stevens, Michael Carter III, and Sauce Gardner were extremely sticky in coverage, especially Sauce Gardner. He lined up against Metcalf on 90% of his routes, 30 of 33. Only allowed 1 catch for 11 yards, and that's one thing that Aaron Glenn wants to be able to do with Sauce Gardner is if it's in their game plan, have him study one player, and he is going to be traveling the whole game, locking him up. It worked here against Metcalf, who is an extreme athlete and wide receiver, and having an ace like that in your secondary and being able to have that in your game plan makes for an elite defense. So overall, the Jets have a phenomenal roster and debuted amazingly. The only issue was they lost, and that was probably due to Xavier Gibson's fumble, but he's already been released from the team as that's been an issue for over a year now. And that's Aaron Glenn setting the tone. If you're going to be out there making mistakes or hurting our team, you won't be on the field. And that also led him into talking about the 7 penalties the Jets had for 74 yards. He wants to fix those mistakes, and also I think getting rid of Gibson is good for Nick Folk. He cannot be missing extra points. It's good to have worry that you might lose your job. It's like Deebo Samuel when he pushed Jake Moody to make a field goal and then he made one. Overall, I love Aaron Glenn. I love this coaching staff. The offense is amazing. It all starts with the quarterback, and he displayed what he can do. Being able to scramble like that and pick up yards, being able to throw on the run and be accurate, having a strong run game with Breece Hall, and then the read option, this offense could compete at the highest level. And defensively, they got great pressure, and in the secondary, there was a lot of positives. There's just so much potential with this team. I love the roster, and Aaron Glenn, I think, is a damn good coach. Looking at New York's remaining schedule, again, I'm just basing this off of week 1, but I think this team is real, and I haven't even won a game yet. But we all know after week 1, it's overreaction week, and like last year, the Saints won their first 2 games by a large margin and then ended up to be terrible. But the Steelers have a lot of talent, and Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing record in how long. Their whole schedule is winnable. I think they could sneak out a win against anybody. And they always play the Bills tough, and they're going to be at home week 2. That is going to be a great game. I think this team should have a winning record. I'm going to go with 9-8 and maybe sneak into the playoffs. They have the Dolphins twice and Patriots twice. That should be 4 wins in my book. And then Saints, Jags, Falcons, Browns, Panthers. That's 5 more games that are winnable. But then the tough ones will be the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Ravens, and the Bills twice. But if they can play like that, and this roster lives up to expectations, the Jets and Aaron Glenn's crew are going to have a fun season. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.